All righty. Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. There we go. All right, now let's see where we're starting off this morning. I'd like to start off with the Swiss franc here, just to give us a flavor of what the dollar is doing. You see, the dollar's a little weak there, and I think we're seeing the same thing with. You can see it here on the J4X. Let's just take a quick look and see how it's acting over on the euro, because I thought I saw the euro actually piercing. No, it's looking pretty firm there actually. Oh, I guess it is. It's a little weak. Okay, there we are. We'll see. And I saw the cable on our work doing the same exact thing. I'm going to go back to the Swiss franc for the moment on the J4X. But I've seen the same thing happen on the, let's see, I'm using MS Office. Oh, okay. Seeing the same thing happen with cable. And we can take a look at that also at the same time. Right there, you see our work is trying to aim down a little bit. We're playing with the sell side of that out of nowhere. Thought we were going to get to that 34-ish. I mean, we've talked about the 32 and a half. That was not much of a challenge. Yeah, I mean, that got us up to the 33s. But we thought we were going to get a good shot at the 34s before it really rolled over. We'll see what they do here. We're still, you can see the white line is still not piercing the top part of the time manifold right there. And so maybe it'll do a little bounce off of it like that and then get rolling again. Now in this case here, that came down to the line and hugged it while it was doing all those red dots. But when it comes to sliding back to the cable, hey, how you doing? Good morning to you. Another fun-filled day. Just playing the election game out. It's like 2000. In 2000, we had the same situation go on until December. So it looks like everything will be moving along just fine. Just fine in the end result. All right, now, so you can see here the cable, not the cable, I'm sorry, the Swiss franc, showing some weakness in there, but overall, not piercing totally yet, just broke the time manifold. But what's interesting is you can see this nice bounce from that big move there, really driving the weekly up into the buy. You know, we should put a little circle there just to remind people that something is brewing there all week long. All week long. Like that. There you are. You can see it's been piercing all week long, firm. Does anybody see anything they'd like to see before we go through our rendition or what we usually chase after? If not, we'll just keep on rolling along. But AA, if you'd like to see, anything, just put it up on the chat line. All right then. So that's where we really stand. Is the dollar is just a little weak, not much, and obviously then we're looking at the cable. It's the other way around. The cable, it's stronger against the British pound, and it is stronger against the. Well, actually, it's not stronger against the euro. See, that's it. The J4X is looking a little bit more weak there because of the red dot situation. But we're still trying to bounce back up in here. We've been in the daily sell for 2 days since here. So, and now that the weekly has driven itself underneath, it's catching our eye. But remember, traders, we've got 6 weeks to the end of the year. And there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of really low consistency this time of the year because funds are trying to close their year out and they just want to take a profit. They're not really taking it like, oh my God, we got to get the best price. They just want to get out of some stuff, just to get those sales in. They need to get sales in, and they may have some nice sized profits built up, so it doesn't really matter if they lose $1 here or half a dollar there on their trade. But they definitely want to get out of their position. So you don't get the same consistency as you get throughout the whole year. We see this twice a year. It occurs right around before Thanksgiving here in the United States, the middle of the month, goes all the way to December, and you get really strange pops up or sell-offs down out of nowhere. And then you see it again at the late part of July going into August, where there's just no participation. So it's always worth paying attention to, not to get trapped into thinking that you're seeing a new established long trend in something. I hope that makes sense to everybody. That's the whole idea, is to try to make sense. And that is the nature of the trend right around here. You know, these 6 weeks heading into the end of the year. And you'll see it in the central banks, too. The central banks will have the same problems. They will need to size up at the end, which is really strange. We've pointed it out throughout the years, and we've found it to be very odd for central banks basically creating money out of thin air, supposedly. You know, in other words, as they say, printing forever in these metals commercials. They don't seem to print that much sometimes when you think they are. They seem to be trapped in some type of structure that we're not really aware of. We know it's there, but we just can't put our fingers exactly how it's all working out. And so what we see is, going into the last couple of weeks or week, you'll see central banks borrowing money from the Federal Reserve. So like the Exchequer might borrow like $34 billion. It's like, don't you guys like float $34 billion a month in quantitative easing? Can't you like just float like $36.5 billion instead? To float that extra $1.5 billion, then you'll have it at the end of the year. You don't have to borrow from the Federal Reserve. But we see those things on the books of the Federal Reserve happening, and we usually see them about 2 weeks after the first of the year. And we're like, why did why did the Exchequer, or why did the European Central Bank borrow like $40 billion from the Federal Reserve going into the last 3 or 4 days or the last 2 weeks? And we see those strange things happening. Hey, Middle Age, how you doing? Gold and silver, I appreciate it. It appreciates too. It goes up in value all the time. Let me rephrase that a little bit. Gold and silver over time goes up in value. That's better, like that. Would you like to see gold or silver? We can put one of them up there. Let's take a look and see what gold's looking like this morning. There's silver right there. Let's refresh that. And it's trying to roll over again. It got into a weekly buy last week, and just as it went into a weekly buy, it goes into a daily sell on us, which is irritating as all get out, especially when they keep on flipping it around. And then you can see today they're trying to show us a volatility signal here. It's early still. You see the white line through the zero line? And you can see the histogram through the zero line also. But then you go down and look at the weekly, and you see that's trying to bend under the zero line. So again, that real sloppy action. It's been caught in this channel here for, what's that, about a month and a half, something like that. Then it got caught in the channel here for like a month and a half, almost 2 months. It's been very interesting. Just let's tighten that up just for you a little bit, like so. There we go. So it made highs here, like 5-year highs or something like that, 6-year highs, 7-year highs, something like that. And then it got trapped in these two ranges, which looks like a big A, B, and a C. And then maybe we get back up into this range here in the 28s. That's what Robin keeps on thinking too. Let's see. Was it Asa? Let's see. Let me put my glasses on for this. Oh, there we go. Matesville. When you talk about gold, would you talk about gold? Sure, we can talk about gold. Talk about gold right now. Let's go after and look at it. We will do anything anybody asks us to take a look at. So don't feel like you have to stand in line. Just fire it out on the chat line. I answer questions as fast. It's just like trading. In other words, who puts their question out first gets answered. And then that's answered, and I go on to the next one, and next one, and next one, and next one. It's like firing away. So now here is gold. Gold. Here's all-time highs at gold. Same time period where we got that 6 or 7 year high out of silver. Same situation. Got caught in this channel, and then then in this channel here, and this one's been really wild. Look at that. That's just incredibly strange looking overall. Let's reload that. There it is right there. That was one heck of a crazy gap down. We're in a weekly sell, so it didn't get you trapped in that, so that's all right. But it was damn close. Can you imagine if we'd been in a weekly buy and a daily buy? you would have taken it on the chin of, like, I don't know, what's that, $100? Ouch. So just by the hair of its chinny chin chin, thank goodness it was still in a weekly sell. You can see this week we're trying to get into a weekly buy. Are we doing that with silver? Let me just go back to silver real quick. No, silver's trying to roll over on us. So gold is trying to get into a weekly buy, but it's in a daily sell since that crazy gap. And, you know, it's not really showing any real life to it except for the fact that we are seeing a volatility red and green dot. But the histogram is buried. You know, let's scrunch this up a little bit. We're going to refresh this for you. And then we'll spread it out again so you can see where it is relative to the action. As you can see here, and we could widen this just a little bit, but look at how low of that, minus 30 there. And if we go like that and like that, just to keep in our minds that was a minus 30, this one here. And so you can see here it's pressing down pretty well. It seems like a bottom, you know, in other words, traders probably are looking at it and going, okay, yeah, it's going to bottom off of this, you know, and or traders who like to chase gaps are going to say this gap will be closed. You know, that type of attitude, you know, about it all. So right now, it's just showing weakness, except for the fact that we're going into a weekly buy. And that could be setting up for the last of this action. Let's scrunch it up again. This could be the A. This could be some type of triangle B of some form right there that's failed. Gives us a C. That's the A there. Then this is the B. And this is the C final. And then what happens, the traders will be watching for the gap to be closed right there. So, does that all make sense to you? I'm going to call you Matesville. Matesville is easy to say. Say some about gold. So everything I've said about that is there. We are watching this weekly buy to see if we're going to get into a weekly buy and this thing starts to turn back up again. But this literally could be some type of bottom in here, and then it lifts up in here from there. So I hope does that make any sense what I said? I hope it makes sense to you. And I hope that helps out. What we're going to be watching this week, it is Thursday. We're only a day away from TGIF, and we're watching this weekly play itself out. If this closes in a weekly buy, and then we get into a daily buy, then we have some really good opportunity for the upside. And so that's how we read our quantitative analysis right here. And you can see they're putting some good pressure in here, but it looks like this may make a higher low. This was 30. Let's scrunch this up a little bit more. See what that one was too. Nope. Let's just do this again like that. There we go. You see this one was 40 something. Then these two 20s. Then it made a new low here in the mid 30s, then 30 itself right there. Let's widen this a little bit. And so you can see that the algorithm itself is trying to make a higher low. Now it has taken out this low here, but it hasn't taken that low out. And that's kind of interesting to see how they play that. See if we get this type of action coming from this area, and we're getting a volatility signal of the green and the red dot on the same bar. If it closes like that today, and we close in the weekly buy, we start to think, wow, the next daily buy signal could be a very good buy signal. So I hope that helps you out there. Matesville? Machiavelli. It's like Machiavelli, isn't it? That's cool. All right. We'll just keep on rolling along. If you have any questions, fire them out. We'll stop and take a look at whatever you're asking about. Good. Yeah, just keep an eye on the let me go back to gold real quick. We're going to keep an eye out on this, and we're going to be watching the dailies right there. But this is very impressive. Now this, you can see here, the time manifold has really tightened up. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. You see that? And when we go back in history and look, the tight time manifolds can lead to some really good moves. See that right here where it gets really tight? And then you get some really great moves out. You get into a weekly buy, and then you get into daily buys, and you get, in that case here, it went from 1,500 to 1,600 in a matter of almost 3 weeks. You know, here it was in a weekly buy. I'm not sure why we were showing that daily there, but let's just go like that. Put it back in a smaller range, and you know, the manifold started to expand, and when it started to expand, it kind of emphasize the strength again. We went into a daily buy here in a weekly, and we made a run from 1600 to 1700 in like 6 days. So, you know, this time manifold, as it plays itself out right now, it's tightening and tightening and tightening. So maybe over the next couple of weeks, it could tighten. It gets into the weekly buy. It hesitates, does some fair type of daily buys. We're coming into the end of the year. That makes a lot more noise. It's a little bit less consistent. That's how our math success rate drops down to 8.5 out of 10 accuracy. The two corners of the year, I call it. One is between starting basically the end of this week, going all the way to the end of the year, the 6 weeks, and then the late July going into middle August. They are the two corners that lower our success rate. Doesn't mean that our weekly buy or daily buy could be more wrong or less. It's just that when you smooth out our math success rate overall, most of those damage that drives our accuracy down comes from that area, which is interesting. You know, so it hasn't stopped some great moves though. We've seen signals. You know, we have to respect the math straight through. That's the way we look at it. You respect it 12 months out of the year. You know, every decade, every century, it has an accuracy rate the same throughout those same time periods. We've gone back enormous amounts of time in different products and gone way back more than millennia. So that is what it is. All right, let's jump over to back to the pairs trades. And you can see, like I said, the euro is trying to bounce up, whereas the Swiss is trying to come down, as you can see, and you can see it on J4X too. But notice the white line is still holding up pretty well in there. We got 3 green hinky ashies right now, whereas on ours right there, you can see it's just a down candle with a no dot at all. So the pressure is on there, and you can see our math is getting towards the 0 line there. Let's take a look at the euro much closer again. Right there, there's the euro trying to bounce up, and you can see it playing with the weekly sell there. And then let's take a look at it on J4X at the same time. See what we learn from that right there. And you can see that's doing the same thing too. It's putting its pressure on there. Interesting, you know, the white line piercing down through this. The dotted, golden dotted line, that's always a negative point of view. We want to see this thing turn back up, get through that to show life in it. You can see our work is starting to ignite already, but that weekly is really giving us some issues there. Now let's take a look at cable. And again, anybody wants to see anything, we can stop what we're doing and go to whatever you care to see. And there's cable. And you see cable is doing the same thing with a red dot, and at the same time it's trying to go minus. You can see plot 1 is minus, you can see plot 4 is minus, and even we're not, yeah, it's just those two we're using there. So it's minus at this point. So we're seeing the pressure there. At the same time, over here on J4X, you can see the white line and the purple CCI is driving south, and it's both have pierced the dotted line there. See that there? So the pressure is coming on. We'll see what that does to it. We really thought we were going to see the 134 area out of this move, and we only got to like 133, 13 or 18 or something like that. And that was pretty interesting, but thought we were going to see a little bit more strength there. All right, let's go over to, we go to Turkish lira from here. Let's see what's going on there. Looks like we're getting close to having some type of change go on with Turkish lira, which is neat. And it's 49 weeks in a weekly buy, as you can see on our fact check spreadsheet right there. Look at that. We're, what are we, a couple days in a sell. Let's see, where it is right there, line 17. So it's going on, yep, 1 day in a sell. You know, we went into a sell, then went into a buy, and then back into a sell again. And it's in a sell from yesterday. The weekly is touching the the top time manifold. See the white line there. You can see the histogram is breaking down. We have been 49 weeks. You can see there on our fact check spreadsheet. Right there, fact check Excel sheet. 49 weeks in a buy. And so this thing is finally showing us some life in the change of the year. Maybe something's brewing there. You know, I mean, they've changed they changed the finance minister, and they changed the sovereign fund chairman, which was the same person on both. So something's brewing there. I'll take a sip of water here. So something is definitely brewing, that's for sure. As you can see here, that little bounce is starting to tell us that they've gone far. Now, as you can see here on our sheet, we rarely have 3 days of red dots. I mean, there's 2, there's 3. Going back months upon months, there was another set of 3, then singles, another single. So something's brewing here. There's a 2 lot back in July. And then back in May, we made that charge to try to get into the sell here on the weekly, and it just bounced off of it, just missed it. And our histogram survived. So the 7 did it. You know, this could be, we could be seeing something like this, and maybe they're going to top it out. But what's interesting is when you go to here, this is dropping much faster. Much faster. So we'll watch, see how the daily goes for the next couple of days, and see what that has to do with the rest of it. And that is interesting. And you can see here over on J4X, you know, it's been aiming down hard, and it pierced it here and then bounced up again, and then now right there it's joined in very well for the last 3 days. You know, doing a fine job of showing us the weakness. And it was aiming hard down. So these indicators here are well worth keeping a track of. They are, when you can't see docs work, it's definitely well worth paying attention to them. And that's just 2 slow stochastic, a fast and a slow stochastics, the Ds, running against a CCI. And what we treat it, and that's a 14 CCI, and it's a 5. You can see there's the numbers, a 5 and a 3, and there's a 5 and a 3 and a 3 on the low. And so it gives you an idea what's going on there, and it gives you, you know, it matches up about 70% correlation to our work, and that's pretty good. And the Hinky-Ashke bars on the bars themselves give us a characteristic like the dots. Again, around 67, 68% accuracy to our dots. And it's also, unfortunately, a lagging indicator. Ferris, how you doing? Another fun-filled day. We're a little surprised of the sloppiness and the slowness, but then it's that time of the year, you know. I've been giving everybody warnings that this is the beginning of the 6-week zone of watch out, continuity and consistency, and trends get pushed all over the place because funds are trying to close out for the end of the year. As I take another sip of water here as we're talking. So that is what it is. What it is what it is. So that is what we're watching at the moment. Let's see. I guess if anything else, we are looking at cable, not cable, Canadian now, I guess. You know, after looking at the Turkish lira. How about that lira, huh? Showing some interesting fast movement in it. Look at that, down from all-time highs. I mean, it's dropped, I don't know, what's that, 60 handles? Something like that? 770, 30. It's like, what is that? That's the high of 58, almost 60. It's like 90 handles. Bam, 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 bam. Is that wild or what? Let's take a look at Canadian right there. See Canadian trying to lift up. Did we catch that last night on the fact check spreadsheet? We did. It's in a daily buy. Yeah. And you can see there, Canadian's trying to lift. Let's put it over on the J4X too at the same time. See here, we're through a daily buy there. You see the weekly's trying to join up. I'm guessing that means oil's going down in value. Let's just take a quick look at oil. Usually that's how I kind of always think about it. Yeah, see, oil's going down a little bit. That makes sense. And we're in a daily sell anyway there. And we're in the weekly sell still. Couldn't get into the buy even with this wild move. I keep on thinking that we're coming back to here Of course, as long as we stay in daily sells and we're in a weekly sell, this thing is going to come back down. You couldn't play the you couldn't play the long side of this. You just knew to be covered up to here. Then it jumped another dollar and change, even with that gap there. And if you're short it from our work, which is pretty justifiable, that was one heck of a gap. Again, just wild stuff. We'll see if this plays it down and closes the gap, and we end up back down here again. And maybe the sign of, the Canadian right here is an indication that that is going to occur. That's usually the way it plays out. But that's one of the most inaccurate signals we've gotten in a long time. But then again, this is all due to the virus cure. They came out with a virus cure, and the market's just exploded from it. And it keeps on trying to sell back down again. We'll see what it does. I think it's going to go down to the gap again. We'll see. As we take another sip of water, it's that time of the year. So the continuity of the action. Let me finish this water off. The continuity of the trend is really disturbed because of the time of the year. Now, this is going to be interesting to see how this keeps on playing out, even with this big gap up, thinking, okay, the world economy is going to start up. Oil's going to be in demand. That's what this is all about right here from the cure. So the product went flying up from 37 and change to 41 and change. Wow. And then it pulled back, but what a wild situation that was. Like I said, it's rare to see our math take money away from you in that dramatic a level, but it will give it back to you. It'll find a way to give it back to you, and that's what's always amazing in this algorithm, is that it will find a way. It's like the pass line on crap table. So it's going to find a way to do one or the other. Go into a weekly buy and take off even more for like $4 or $5, which we've seen many a time where we catch $4 and $5 and $6 moves. Or in this case here, stay in the weekly sell and the daily sell, and then find themselves closing half that gap, if not all that gap. And that's how that plays out there. All right, now let's go back to the currencies again. We're looking at Canadian. You can see it there on the J4X. And we'll see how that finishes off its week. Now what we'll do is, what normally do is from here we take a look at the, the NASCAD, the Looney trade. That's usually oil related. And you can see the strength that's been in it. It's been trying to tell us that they want to buy the oil. Boy, do they ever. And you can see it's been in a weekly buy, and it's been going up nicely. Traders that like to trade pairs trades against oil can, a lot of times, will be long this to be long oil, and short that to be short oil. So you can see there that the Looney did not get head faked whatsoever, even with the news coming out, which is odd. Was it front run through the NASCAD? Maybe so. Maybe that's what gave the horsepower to the NASCAD. And so people who knew about the cure coming out for Visor and so forth may have been playing through the NASCAD pairs trade, because it doesn't even look like it skipped a beat over there. Matter of fact, it was in a weekly buy for, what was that, NASCAD? So that's 2 full weeks in a weekly buy. So they knew and then the daily wise, it was 3 days, 3 days beforehand. No, 2 days beforehand. Thursday and Friday of last week, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday today. So they had a good idea something was coming. We talk about this all the time in our webinar here about the fact that the NASCAD is some type of, I guess I want to say esoteric type of products when it comes to what its fundamentals are and what makes it move, what gives it direction, why people follow it. Okay, where do we go from here? Now we go back to the crude. Right there. Let me just have another sip of water. And that's the crude again, as we were looking at. And amazed how poorly it acted. Trying to figure out what else to say about this. I don't know. I just kind of, I'll watch it. Let the math do its job. But right now, it does look like they're trying to push it down, which is curious because the NASDAQ is still lifting up. But Canadian is already joining in, as we showed you before. Let's take a look at like Nat Gas. You can see Nat Gas has been relatively firm, but it was also been in a weekly sell since in this area here, and it had a heck of a sell down. And it even there was the Monday, Tuesday it showed strength from it, but it wasn't even able to move on Monday with the great news of the discovery of the cure. It did it on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you can see today it's still firm but lower. Now let's take a look at automobile gasoline. You know, gas, oil, gas, fuel, whatever country you're in, they have a name for it. In this case here, you can see we were in a sell from here on a weekly basis, and we went into a daily buy for here. And then on Monday's news, since it's in a neutral position because one is in a sell, this is in a buy. And then on Monday, it goes into a daily sell and tells us to be short. And you can see it has not been a winner chicken dinner at all. It has been just pretty much unchanged at this point from this area here, or just a little minus. And it did go up a few cents from it too. You can see here the daily is trying to lift today. We're getting a volatility signal. Let's reload that. So I guess you could say the energy complex, okay, now that wiped it out. Now the energy complex, you can see, is having its issues of how to deal with that whole explosive economic, cure slash, everything else that's going on type of situation. So that really, excuse me, drinking of water there. So that really, yes indeed, that really makes it even more of a challenging situation. Now, let's go to, where do we go from here from the oil? We did look at gold this morning already for some people. Just a quick look again and just give it a refresh, because we're looking through the commodities at this point. And again, we can see this weakness with this strength, which is pushing us into more of a neutral than ever. All right, let's take a look at, what else can we look at over here? I guess we can take a look at, since we're looking at the metals, let's take a look at copper. I saw some odd positive action, volatility last night from that. Look at that. So at this point in time, this product is flirting with the daily buy. I mean, it's really doing some positive stuff there. Matter of fact, this can be brought down to here because we got the volatility signal last night. The white line histogram closed positive, like there. And now, since it's above it this morning, and even last night because it's above it, it can push it into the buy. And so we're officially saying, hey, this thing is trying to go into a buy. Now, look at this. Just as it shows life into it again, the weekly starts to roll over. So, again, it's towards the end of the week, we'll see, and, watch it play itself out. That's pretty much the way it always goes with us. We just watch the math. And by watching the math, it tells us where it's going to go in the end. And the consistency is always nice there, And, like the same thing with the silver. You can see silver is trying to do the same thing. We're getting into that lift up situation where it's trying to go into a buy of some form. And that could be for tomorrow, the action right there. So that's a warning there that we're starting to see strength in that. Now, unfortunately, that weekly signal right there in silver, I'm just saving it for Robin there. You can see right there, it's pressed underneath again. So we really have a real dichotomy. And then when we, let me just save the gold, because the gold is, that can stay in a cell like that. And it's unfortunate the weekly is trying to go into its buy, but then we don't ever know exactly what our math is trying to tell us more than that it's accurate in picking the direction when you don't think that it makes any sense whatsoever. In other words, you look at it and you go, wow, why is that thing playing with a weekly buy? And you go, it's probably going to roll over. And the next thing you know, it gets into a daily buy, and the next thing we know, we're up 100 points. I mean, it's, it has its own ability to comprehend what's going on, and there's no way in the world that we can, try to tell ourselves what it really means in the end. So there it is for that. Let me just save that too at the same time. All right. So now, let's see. Did we do crude? I think we did crude too. Let's do the crude while we're there again. I just want to save it since we've got, I want to put it out there. So Robin's going to be sending these out to his clients, and that's a good enough reason just to save it right now. Right there. Okay, now what we can do is take a look at the stock indices. You can see there, ever since the big explosion on Monday, they've been kind of just meandering on the minus side. This is the NASDAQ 100. Let's refresh that. You can see the histogram is plus, but the white line has dipped under, so that's holding up in the weekly buy, so that's kind of cool. You can see the daily is trying to get into a buy here. We're seeing some very positive action there this morning. We're going to put a little green line there for Friday. TGIF might actually put this thing back into the saddle on the upside. We'll see. And that is what's going on there. And then there is the S&P. You can see that's still in the sell from that day. And you can see the weekly has pressed way down underneath again. Let's reload that. Yeah. That's interesting right there, that the S&P is really rolling over. So as much as the high tech, which or the NASDAQ or the Tech 100 in Dukascopy had fallen apart at the beginning of it all, that people would now be going back to offices or something of that nature, and the gap was just an incredible gap. The S&P is now kind of rolling over more. Now this is interesting to see that. Let's see what we see on J4X on the S&Ps. See? Right there. Right there you can see the pressure on it. This thing needs to start to turn up. Now this is interesting that it's staying up, and that's the positive thing out of it. But right now you can see on our chart, this is not looking very bullish at the moment. Well, I guess you could say, let's do this. Let's resync this. And you can see that is making a nice curve here, just like it did at this low. And in this case here, it went nowhere. And on this one, it was in the middle of this, and it gave you a 2-day bounce and then rolled over again. And then now we're trying to do that again. So we'll see if these lows, which a lot of times can lead to some nice moves, we get green dots and daily buy, we know this thing is driving itself back up again. And I think that's the best way to describe it there. Now, what's interesting is the bond market, which was off yesterday because of the holiday, Veterans Day. We're seeing some interesting pressure there today. When this goes up, it means that interest rates are dropping in value. And so we are starting to see some strength here. You can see the weekly is trying to turn up. Let's see what that white line is. I guess that's... There we are. So you can see this thing is trying to get up in there. Let's see. Right. Let's save this. ZN. Let's see. So that's right there. That's the December 10-year note / bond. And it's been an interesting sell-off. Someone obviously started front-running the good news on that, too, at the same time. Let's see. And then there's that natural gas we were looking at earlier. You can see here the strength of it. Now the weekly is still buried down here at the bottom, but you would think. I know we're having a here on the east coast of the United States. We can get rid of that. That's in the wrong spot now. In the east coast of the United States here, where there's a large population, we are seeing a lot of warm weather. So we are not surprised if natural gas goes down more, or at least has some pressure on it, because all they're doing is showing us that at this point in time we're going to be seeing a lot more warmer weather than we normally have this time of the year. Let's see now. Let's save that. And then let me just check. Ever since Ferris has said hello, no one's asked a question. So what I will do is go through the rest of these. There's platinum. And let's look at platinum with the rest of the metals. There you go. And you can see this. The weekly is turning up. Matter of fact, we can get rid of that one. Remove that. And we can go throw this in here. Let's see, where's it at? There's a circle there for platinum. Platinum's showing some real strength here. And at the same time, we're in a daily buy for a couple of days. Now, you can see the width of the same action from the news. The pop-up on Friday, the Monday, which was interesting in the sense that it was pressing up. And then now it's, closed the gap here just over a couple of days, still being in the sell. It took care of itself on this one. There we go. There we go. And so that's the action we're seeing with the metals. Copper lifting up. Interesting. Copper is usually like an industrial metal. People think when you see copper going up in value, you start thinking, okay, maybe, economics is turning up. There's going to be construction and business and so forth. That could be part of the process we are seeing at the moment. That type of action. So, all right. Where do we leave off from here? Let's see, what have we talked about? We've done gold, we've done silver, we've looked at the stock indices. Yesterday we looked at the DAX a little bit. I'm trying to think what else is there. And it's a quiet day. Middle Age says, could you look at the Feb hogs? Easily peasily, anytime, anything anybody wants to see, we can look at. Let's take a look at Feb hogs. Right there. I think I saw strength in them, is it? Or is it in the cattle? The cattle was joining in again. I think that's what I saw. Strength in one of them. We'll see in a second here. There's Feb hogs. Yeah, that's it. It's in a daily sell, and it's in a weekly sell. So the pressure has been on this product. But what's interesting is, let me just show you. Now that's Feb hogs. Let's take a look at the same things happening here, and we're playing with the weekly sell. Let me go back to Feb hogs again. So Feb hogs have been in a weekly sell for 3 weeks, going on a 4th week. Now what we're starting to see is the December hogs slide into the weekly sell, and we've been in a daily sell on this thing for I don't know, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I don't know, 13, 14 days, something like that. 14, 15 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 days in a sell. So when that's over 3 weeks ago. And so since Feb hogs have been in a sell, you can see Feb hogs, that was interesting. Feb hogs went into a buy there for a little bit, even in the weekly sell, telling us that there'd be a little pop. They gave us a little pop, and now it's back into the saddle again, joined in with the short side of it all. Now that's yesterday. They didn't take out this low, but they pressed it, and it did close lower. And we'll see what they do with this. Let's see what the deck hogs are doing today. No, they're not updating that either. No, excuse me. So that's the hogs. Now cattle, this is what caught my eye, is cattle is starting to play with the weekly in a daily buy for a couple days. And Jan feeders, same situation, seeing some strength here. In this case here, the babies are been in buy since back to the 27th of October, which is really interesting. See what they're doing with the feeders. Now the ones that are getting ready to expire, the Novembers, you can see they have slid into a sell at times and then back into it again in here. So, and you can see the weekly's trying to turn up again. So there's pressure on the meats, I guess you could say. Could I, middle age, you trade these things? So can I interpret it that way? I mean, as a technician, I look at it and I say, okay, the meats are feeling some type of, beef is seeing pressure on the upside in the feeders, in the cattle, and then the hogs are starting to back off, and that could be what, like a rotation thing going on where they sell hogs, buy cattle, and buy hogs, sell cattle. Sometimes they move together. A lot of times they seem to go against each other. So. Does that make any sense? Is there any input you got on that? We're always willing to listen. And if nothing else, we can go look at something else like corn. You can see corn, it's been in a weekly buy since, like, what is that? 8/14. What's that? 7 is July, right? So August 14th. So, it's been there. It's been holding up. Let's take a look at the grains. It went into a buy 2 days ago and basically went nowhere but down, even with the weekly buy. You can see here it's dancing on the edge. Now we can take a look at, where is it? Right there. March is holding up a little bit better, but not by much. And it also has been in a weekly buy since back in here in the 350 area. So, sometimes, we watch the soybeans and so forth thinking that as they get more expensive, then the cattle price usually comes down because it costs more to feed the animals. But there's always that little balance point where just because it's, corn or meal is going up, cattle doesn't have to go down until a certain point where then it does. I remember a friend of mine, he's now the largest dairy farmer here in New Jersey. And, how he would rotate some of the things he would feed his animals. He was doing meal and so forth. His dairy cows. He was doing corn and then he was giving them some Sudan grass and he was just doing all kinds of different combinations. And then at some point he'd have to step up and buy meal. He ran out of his own meal. So but then he just kept on growing, and now he's #1 in the state. And he's bought a farm up in New York State now, which is like 3.5, 4 hours away, and he's farming that also at the same time. So he's a very successful dairy farmer. His son is running this one, which went to school with my sons. My one son was talking about being a dairy farmer for a long time. All right, so that's where we are with the hogs. We're seeing that pressure on them. Hope that helped out. Now, let's see. Interesting. So, yep. And so that's that with the hogs, the cattle, the grains. And we can always look if anybody wants to see them. We can go after them again. I have no problem opening up another, page on any level. All right, now let's see, where are we at? So we've done the currencies. There, we left off at NASCAD, and let's see. Maybe we'll look at one of the exotics that we've been looking at all week that has my curiosity at this point, like that Rand yen. You can see it's breaking down here. You can see right there. It's putting the pressure on, Nice. Very nice. You can see here that this product is trying to make a breakdown and it's giving us a good signal to it. But unfortunately, the weekly is much firmer here right now. Much more firmer. The green means that we're running the plot 6, I guess it is. You can say the plot 6 there. That's what that means instead of the plot 4, because we're running the 5 and the 3. The 3 is the histogram right there. And let's see what other exotic we were watching this week. Bitcoin's been very interesting. Oh, Mexican peso. One of our clients follows that, and we've seen that that's starting to get into a bias action right there. You can see that right there. It's showing some real push into it. Let's see. I'm long Feb 114 call options in live cattle from that bottom from a couple weeks back. Oh, let's take a look at that. Let's see. Let's go back to cattle. I love talking options. Doc loves options. He's an options trader. Okay, so let's see what you said there. You're in Feb hogs. Feb. No, wait a minute. Feb cattle. Okay, Feb cattle. Let's go to Feb cattle. Right there. Okay, cool. And oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you can get away with that when it's in a daily buy but a weekly sell. You can get away with playing the options. Um, you know, I would say this about that. This is acting pretty close to getting there. Let's just double check what this is. This is gas line 7, right? Okay, so we're not running the 5 here. We're running the 1 and the 4. So you can see here it is at minus 001 and plot 4 is at 02, both on the minus side. You can see the 5 plot is a plus already. That's interesting there. So what we want to do is we want to really see this, we'd like to see this weekly get going. We'd like to see this weekly close in a weekly buy. And then, who knows? Let's see, where's the highs at in that thing? We're up in way high area already, aren't we? Okay, no, it was 120s. Okay. Well, are you just naked long the 114s, or are you in a bull spread? Are you long the call and short the, long the top calls, or, one of the games I would play if you had profits in it, I would go out and I would sell the 20 calls. I'd turn it into like a butterfly or a trapezoid. I would sell like the 120 call. I'd sell a couple of those and then buy, say, the 124s or 125s and turn it into some type of odd trapezoid or a butterfly and lock in some of the profits. And at the same time, let's see, February calls. So when do they expire? Do they expire in February or do they expire in January? So you've got like 10 weeks in those things. So that's good. Time is your friend in options. But if you've been long, as you say there, you were long Feb calls, let's see, from that bottom from a couple weeks ago. So this one right here, where we went into the daily buy. Yeah, so I would sell some of the calls up in here and then buy some calls up in here. So in other words, we usually like to play games like that where we buy calls here when it's down here and you get into a buy. When it gets up into that area and you're making money, then what you do is you go and you sell like a call here. It actually lowers your margin and it locks in more profits. And then like sell a call there, like sell these 2 calls, and then go and buy like a call up in here. And so now you're locking in what you've gained. You still have potential to make more money, and you can't lose out of it you can't lose money out of this thing. You'll keep some of your profits, and that's some of the games we usually play. Well, that's one of the games we play. Are you part of the Chicago Quant? Robin tells me we have some option traders that trade cattle and meats and so forth. If you ever want to talk options, just let Robin know, and he'll connect me up with you. We can always talk options. There's no problem at all. But that would be one of the best ways. I'm a real big fan of, you can be naked long for a little bit, and then when you've made the money in options, what you try to do now is you try to spread out the profit and go on to the next thing. And so in one aspect is we make this a green line right there because that's your long in a sense, And so then these, let's make it a darker green. And this emphasizes that, there we go. That's not even, how about that? I'm trying to get a darker green. There we go. And so then think of these, the yellow, we'll make them yellow. Like that, I guess, yeah. And, you sell these calls here, and now you're giving up potential profit. But then by buying, here, what you do is you open up the doorway for more profit, right there. We call that a trapezoid, and usually it's like a 114. You can and this is, let's say this is like 124 or something like that. So that means it's 10 wide. So you can sell like 119s or 120s, that type of thing, or 122s, and have this all on now for a way of keeping some dollars in there. And that's we do that. We do all kinds of little games like that. Especially a lot of times what we do is we call that like a bootstrap. What happens is that you go naked long, you catch the move, and then you sell some of these other higher strike prices much higher up, and then at the same time you're still imagine if it expires, say like at right up in the middle of this, you're pretty much going to make all that, because this is being paid for by selling these two in here and compensating for some of this at the same time. So it's always a game to be played. It's like reminds me of an extension ladder. You know how people use extension ladders to climb up onto roofs and so forth? Think of each rung as a strike price. And then what happens is that you're adjusting your height. You might be moving the ladder to do something lower on that particular spot or higher. And you're moving your rungs back and forth. So, all right, traders. Looks like we're coming towards the end. If you have anything else, Muscle, just ask. No problem. We're always willing to come up with ideas and so forth. We have all kinds of wild concepts with options. We've been trading options for so long. We've seen pretty much everything you can do with the things. And if we don't know something, we can always find it, since we know so much about them to begin with. So, what should we call today's title, too? I guess, let's see. I guess we could say gold, oil, and how about GBP? There we are. All right. So, traders, this is Doc from North America. Glad to talk to you. Everybody's kind of disappeared at this point. It's quiet. It's been a busy week. We will catch you all on the flip side tomorrow. So this is Doc from North America saying arrivederci. Ta-ta for now. Happy trails to you until we meet again, which is TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Happy trails to you, to all our traders.